friends. Welcome to Aromatic Chat, the podcast that introduces you to registered, clinical, and certified aromatherapists around the world. Tune in every other week to hear from aromatherapists and to learn about their aromatic journeys and how they use essential oils in their lives and their businesses. I created this podcast so that you, my listener, can hear from, find, and connect with the aromatherapist that meets your holistic wellness needs. Aromatic Chat is produced by Lemon Balm Coaching. I'm your host, Melissa. I'm a holistic life coach and a registered aromatherapist.
Okay, campers, rise and shine. And don't forget your booties because it's cold out there. Hey, friend, I couldn't help myself. Happy Groundhog Day and welcome to podcast episode number 41, Aromatic Chat with Colleen Thompson. Colleen has been involved in the aromatherapy community since 1996 and has built some amazing businesses utilizing her financial savvy, her get-her-done attitude, and her love for aromatherapy. I'm so glad that you've tuned in today to hear all about her aromatic journey. So let's get started.
Hi, Colleen.
Hi, Melissa. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm wonderful, thank you.
Good.
It's cold and pouring rain here, but
Oh, I'm so sorry. It's bright and sunny and, tropical paradise here. So
yeah, I thought as much. So yes, it's a little chilly today.
Oh, I love chili. That's wonderful. Oh,
It is because you can get cozy and
yes.
the fireplace on. Yeah.
Yes. When we leave Guam, we're going to be retiring in East Tennessee. So we'll have seasons again. So very excited about that.
Is it warm there all the time?
It is warm here all the time. We are less than 1,000 miles from the equator.
Wow.
And we're in the middle of the trade winds. So we've got the trade winds moving through all the time, keeping it warm here. The water temperature is like bath water.
Really?
Yes.
Nice.
So
Nice.
I'm not a big fan of the ocean, but when we go, it's not cold, which has been my experience with both the Atlantic and the Pacific. It's just cold.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
It's just been a weird shift and the culture is different. Even though it's still part of the United States, it's island culture. So it's a little bit different, very laid back, and which is good.
Yeah, it is good. It is good. We need more of that in the world, actually.
I think so. We were just talking about this yesterday in Bible study with all of the technological advances that we've made that are supposed to make our lives easier.
Mm-hmm.
All we do is fill that extra time with other things instead of the relaxing and self-care and connection with others, connection with that which is greater, whatever you choose to call that which is greater. So we just fill it with other things.
We do, yeah.
And
usually stressful things because we always have to keep up.
But that's not why we're here today.
No.
We're here to talk about you and everything you're doing in the aromatic world. Colleen, I'm so excited to talk with you. I did look at your website a little bit. I had no idea. Idea. You're like this guru.
Oh, no. But I've been doing it for a long time. Yes.
That's awesome. Because I didn't realize that it was a college that you owned.
Yes. Kelly and Ablard and I are co-partners. I started it in 2012 and then she joined me in 2019 as a full partner. We've been friends for many, many years and the timing was just right. So
that's beautiful. And then I scrolled down and saw that everybody get that membership to the Lab Aroma.
Yes.
Wow.
We were Lab Aroma's first school because I met Colleen at Botanica 2014 and she had just launched it. And I said, that's something I'd love to have for my students. So she allowed me to use my program for my students initially. Well, that was a hot mess because as soon as one person was on, if another person went on, they kicked that person out. So we learned very quickly that wasn't going to work very well. So we started including it in the tuition, and then it was optional if a person wanted to have it, and we subsidized it for them. And then in 2017, we made it mandatory. because I just found it so beneficial. As far as the chemistry and the blending and all of that, it's just another person talking, another perspective, and I just found it so valuable. And so now it's mandatory and it's included in tuition. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful perspective that you brought up. Another person talking.
Yeah.
With another perspective.
Yes. Yeah.
So important.
It is. Yeah. And, within our program, I don't know whether you noticed that, but excuse me, we have a couple of sort of experts in their field. So Madeline Kirchhoff and Ann Harmon, and teaches hydrosols. Madeline teaches CO2 extracts, and, a few others as well are teaching. Florian Bergmeyer and Kathy Skipper do a little part, because they really come from that specific area of expertise. Right. We could teach it, but not as well as they could teach it. So
that's beautiful.
It's beautiful for us as well, because we get the benefit of, having them offer their words of wisdom, so it really works all the way around. And it's collaborative, and I think that's what we need more of. And I see that happening, I think, more and more in aromatherapy, is we need to collaborate together,
Yeah, I agree. Because if you just have one person that you're listening to, one person that's teaching you, that's all you know.
Yeah.
And that's not how aromatherapy works. Aromatherapy is so broad. It has so many tracts and uses and abilities and capabilities that if I'm only listening to one person, I mean, that's all I know. And that's very narrow.
It is very narrow. Yeah. And I think that's why people seek, education after they graduate. They seek further education to get that. And so what we tried to do with this program was to capture all of that within the program. So part of the master's program is 3 electives, because we recommend that people specialize, because just to be an aromatherapist, it's really difficult to make a living out of it, So if you specialize in a certain area, then I think you have more chance of success. So, we've got a teacher's program that's included in the tuition. And then there's a cosmeceuticals blending for cosmeceuticals is one of the electives. And then the other elective is site licensing, which is a big thing if somebody wants to produce a line of products. So it's how to site license in Canada, the US, the EU, and Japan, which are the countries that mainly have the site licensing. If we could find more information from other countries, we'd include that as well. So they've got that, and then that gives them an idea of what they want to do. Of course, they have to continue education. There's no way you shouldn't do that, but they don't have to go now and try and figure out, what do I have to take to get me to the point where I can be what I want to be. So that was one of the things we wanted to include. This is new to us. We launched our professional level last January, and we'll launch the master's level. It hasn't even launched yet. It launches on January 1st. So other than before that, we did a correspondence program, and we would ship these huge manuals all over the world, and they cost sometimes $300 to ship them, to China or, Australia or wherever. So, and then they would be obsolete within a year or so, because we'd want to revise it. So we realized finally we need to get online.
That's funny. My mom did correspondence for aromatherapy back in the early 90s.
Oh, did she?
Yes.
Really? So you're following in her footsteps. Wow.
She would get her book and she'd do all the work and send the book back with her test. And then the next one would come. And that's funny. So I'm glad that you brought up that you do Canada, US, EU, and that was one of my questions, is the college worldwide.
We have students literally, I think, in almost every country of the world. It's funny because initially when I started the program, I would say it was 90% Canadians and 10% Americans, because I was recognized by the AIA and NAHA, so I would get US students as well. And I would say now, I think we're getting more people outside of Canada than we are within Canada now. The US, we have a lot, but we also have a lot in Europe and Australia, New Zealand, Asia. And sometimes you wonder, like, how did they even find us? Some people really do their due diligence and,
right.
Which is good. They ask a lot of questions because, not every school is perfect for every person. But I've been pleasantly surprised that we have had that reach. It's just one person tells another person. We were putting something together today, and we had to look at our what we paid as far as advertising in the last 2 years. And I was shocked, like we paid so little in advertising. We really need to, look at bumping up our advertising, but we've still been okay. And I think it's just being out there. Kelly has brought a lot to the table because she's well known, just word of mouth. So.
Well, and I was just thinking with your professional level and then your master's level going online in January, now would be a great time to bump up your marketing, because this is a career field where you must continuously educate yourself. You can't stop. Things are always changing. And how do you guys market?
We've just hired a marketing analyst. She gave us a workbook that we had to complete. So I'm sure that this person is going to be telling us what and how to do it. So, well,
that's why you hire a specialist like that. Yeah. Please tell me what to do.
I know. Yeah.
I just met with my coach, my business coach, and she's like, I'm going to stay on you about these things. I said, well, I would hope so.
Yeah.
I paid you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and that's a niche right there too. There are coaches. You're a coach, in aromatherapy in a way, really. That's something that we are not covering in the program, but I think that's a really key area that we need more of, because some people they're not extroverts like you are, and they don't have the context or even the confidence to, I've got all the education now, I've got what I need, but what
do I do?
I'm afraid, or what's the next step? So
we've been talking about your college, but we haven't even mentioned the name.
It's Essence of Thyme College of Holistic Studies. I started Essence of Thyme in 1996, but it was all retail and wholesale at that time. And then in 2012, I launched the program, and I wanted it to be not just aromatherapy. So that's why it's Essence of Thyme College of Holistic Studies. I had a vision that I would teach other things that I've done, like reflexology, aromatherapy, massage, and, just things over and above just the aromatherapy program. And that never happened just because we just got immersed in the aromatherapy part of it. So that's why aromatherapy isn't in the name. Who knows? That leaves the door open to doing other things. So
Yes.
I don't regret doing that, but yes.
Just because you haven't done it yet doesn't mean you won't. So
no, the sky's the limit, really. Yeah.
So you mentioned 1996 is when you opened Essence of Thyme.
Yes.
But tell us a little bit more about yourself and how you ended up even doing aromatherapy. Because I was talking with somebody just the other day, and I said, I don't think any of us are little girls or little boys walking around saying, "Oh, I'm going to be an aromatherapist someday."
Yeah, when I grow up,
I'm going to be a reflexologist. I mean, it's just not in our vocabulary.
I know. Maybe 40 years from now it will be. But, it was really interesting. My career was always in the financial industry and adult education. So I was in management at a bank that I had worked at for a long time. And I was taking executive courses at the University of British Columbia. One day, this would have been probably in the late 80s, never heard of aromatherapy. Professor started talking about rosemary essential oil and how it enhanced memory. And I kind of perked up when he said that, because I was an educator as well. So I thought, what is rosemary oil and how would it enhance memory? And there was no internet then. When I was young, there was no TV. We listened to the radio. Anyway, I'm giving away my age, but
isn't it crazy? I mean, really?
I know.
There was no internet.
I know. So I made it my mission. First of all, I went to the library. I thought, well, if he knows about it, it must be out there. So at the library, they looked at me like I was crazy. We don't know anything about rosemary oil. And I wasn't using the word aromatherapy because he had not used the word aromatherapy. And I don't even think he knew really what it was all about. So anyway, then I started going to bookstores, still couldn't find anything. And then I realized it's probably more metaphysical. So I started going to metaphysical bookstores. And it was probably, at one point, I kind of gave up and just half forgot about it. But if I would see a metaphysical bookstore, I would go in. So it was probably a year and a half later or so. I walked in, I was in a different part of town. I saw the store. I walked in and there was one book in there, and it was The Art of Aromatherapy. So I bought it and I devoured it. But then I thought, well, what now? What do I do with this now? I have no idea how this works. So it was shortly after that there was a mall, a large mall that was close to my office. And sometimes at lunchtime, I would go over there on my lunch break. And I smelled this place before I saw it, actually. It just smelled this wonderful smell. And as I got closer, there was a tiny, tiny little alcove of a store that said aromatherapy. And I thought, wow, it was kind of weird because I just finished reading the book, fairly recently, and had spent all that time searching, and now it was just opening up to me. So that was probably in about 93. I went in there was just one person on staff, and the store could have fit 3 people, and that was it. So I went in there and she was busy with a client, and I kind of looked around and I picked up a bottle and I saw the price of it, and I put it down. I thought, well, this is crazy, $10 for a little bottle. And then a couple of weeks later, I went over again and I saw her in there, and there was no one in there. So I went in and talked to her. She was really interesting. She knew her stuff, and she asked, if I had any health issues. And I said, well, I get migraine headaches all the time, and my doctor has told me I'm the only uncontrolled migraine headache sufferer that she has, because everything would work for a while like magic, and then they wouldn't work anymore. So she said, well, we've got something that can help with that. And it was a blend, but it had peppermint in it. I was quite skeptical, but I thought, what have I got to lose, really? And then when she explained that, well, you don't use the whole bottle, so you're not spending $10 at a time. There's probably like 100 drops in there, and you only use 1 or 2 at a time. Then I got that they weren't really that expensive. So I took this home, and I was getting a lot of migraines at that time because the job had become quite stressful. And I was also going through menopause at that time. Next time I got a migraine, which was probably within a day or so later, I used it, and I was shocked that it worked. I really was not expecting anything, and it continued to work. So then I was hooked. I was there almost at least weekly, buying something in there, always buying Christmas presents and that sort of thing. And one day I walked in there and they had a little sign saying we're franchising. And at the same time, I had become disenchanted with my job that I had loved for many, many years, but things had changed. Just the environment, the whole financial institution environment had become really, really competitive. So I was already kind of 1 foot out the door there. I'm a firm believer, if you're not happy at work, like you're just wishing your life away. If on Monday you're wishing it's Friday, why are you doing that? You're just wishing your life away. So, and I saw my dad do that, and I swore I would never do it. So I was already 1 foot out the door, and then I saw that, and I went home and talked to my husband. Knew nothing about aromatherapy. I mean, I knew that the headache blend worked, and I bought some gifts, but I thought I'm going to buy my store. So I did, and then realized I probably should get certified because I really don't know what I'm talking about. And luckily, I had somebody that was working for me in the store that was a certified aromatherapist. I stayed on for about 7 years, I think. After my 5-year term as a franchisee was up, I told them I just want to go to year because I didn't want to commit to another 5 years. And it got to the point where I decided it probably wasn't for me. So I had 2 stores at that time, 2 franchise stores, and I walked away from them. Then I started wholesaling, and I was really lonely. Even though I'm somewhat of an introvert, I really miss the customer contact. So I found this lovely space in a village near me it's the birthplace of British Columbia, the province that I'm in. Everything is over 100 years old in that village. It's all mainly antique stores, funky little coffee shops and restaurants. And I found this space that was like 4,500 square feet that I just decided I had to have. My husband helped me. We built 3 treatment rooms with reclaimed lumber. Each treatment room had a little electric fireplace in it. And we did holistic aromatherapy, massage and reflexology and shiatsu. And I had quite a large staff that was working in the spa part. And then the store was about 2,500 square feet. Then we had the 3 treatment rooms. And then at the very back, I had my storage area for all of the product. and I had a lab that he had built me and my office back there. It was just heaven, and that's what I wanted. And it's still around today, but it got to the point where I started being asked to teach aromatherapy. I was teaching aromatherapy at a local college. I was getting burnt out because I made most of the products. So I would teach during the day, and then I would go to my store at night to the lab, and I would make product. And then, the cycle would go on. And then weekends, I was always in the store. So I had to make a decision, and I decided that I would sell the store. It was heartbreaking. I actually went through grief. I grieved for about 6 months. I really miss my customers. I miss the staff, but I'm happy that it's still around. So then I started teaching more, and I took over as the head of the program at the college, and at the same time starting to write the aromatherapy certification program, because that was always my dream. I love to teach, and I love aromatherapy. And so that was kind of my two areas that I really enjoyed. So I've done quite a bit of different things. And also when I had my store in the little village, I started buying in larger volumes as we got busier, and I was able to start wholesaling as a result as well. So I not only retailed, but I wholesaled to others as well. So we really became kind of a niche market because I only sold wildcrafted or organic essential oils. And at first it was a tough go because people would come in and say, well, aromatherapy store in another town, their oils are way cheaper than yours. And so it was a lot of educating, but a lot of schools came and asked me to make up kits for their students. And I eventually built this clientele of people that even there was also bed and breakfast there, and there was a campsite there. And so people would come maybe once or twice a year, and they would come in and they would stock up for, so I became this kind of niche market. And it was scary because at first I didn't know whether I was going to be able to make it, just to have such a narrow criteria. And it ultimately worked because it set me apart. And the store was called True Aromatherapy Products, because the true in there. And so it was just called TAP. So everybody knew what TAP was. It was True Aromatherapy Products.
Nice.
And so that was fun. And I actually there's still staff there that were there when I was there. They're still working there today. So it was a beautiful time. It really was.
Absolutely. I want to visit.
Well, come to Canada.
Well, and I was just thinking that's a beautiful story of niching down, because, as a business owner, we want to reach the world with what we do. We just want to help everybody, but it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
And we have to figure out who is it that we're really helping, and then really dig in there, which you did. And that's beautiful. I don't think most people really understand that part of how beautiful it can be to narrow down so far that you have this little corner of the world that's just yours.
Yeah, it was great. And I think that's kind of our process with our students as well. I know, a lot of people, and we have quite a few students as well like this, but they are looking at it more for themselves. And we are developing a course for people that, really just want aromatherapy for their friends and family, but they also want to know some of the science behind it and how to use it safely and so on. We're more targeting the really serious people who want to make this a career. And that's scary too, sometimes, to make it more of a niche. And so far it's worked. So it's been successful. So
well, and the people who are wanting what you offer, this is what I want to make. This is what I want my life to be. I want my life to be about this modality and helping people. There are so many courses out there for people who just want to get a little bit of knowledge.
And
they'll find you. They will find you, whether you spend $1 million on marketing or not.
Yes. Yeah. And that's what we found, when I looked at what our marketing budget was for last year, and yet we were still successful. So imagine if we had a little bit of marketing.
You'd be even more successful. Yeah.
Exactly.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So without sharing too much personal information, I love to hear client stories, like and you're coming from a unique perspective, having a school. So your client could be a student, or your client could be someone that you've helped with aromatherapy. I love the client stories because it just puts a face to what we do.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite client story?
Well, I actually have two, if you don't mind me sharing two. Okay, so both of them were when I had my store. And the first one was a lady came in, she was a nurse, and she and her husband had been trying to get pregnant for about 3 or 4 years. And she'd gone through medical procedures. She'd tried different things, and nothing was really working. And she said, is there any aromatherapy that can help with this? And I think I did look into a couple of books. I can't even recall what they were now, and got some ideas. And I was fairly new at the time. I honestly really wasn't confident this was going to work, but I didn't think it would hurt. So I made her up this blend that both she and her husband should use. And it was like 2 months later. I was in a huge mall at the time, and I looked down, the opening of my store was really big, and I looked way down the hall, and I saw out of this mass of people, I saw this face with this great big grin on it. And I knew her, and I'm trying to place her. And as she's coming closer, I just got goosebumps because I knew what she was coming to tell me just from the look on her face. And I was the second person she told. Her husband was the first. And she came in person to tell me that. One of my staff overheard this, and she came to me and she said, my sister's been trying to get pregnant for a couple of years. And it was just before Christmas. And she said, I'm going to make her that blend for Christmas. A couple of months later, her sister was pregnant. And that happened 6 times to me, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it was amazing. And the only person that I actually saw kind of in person that it worked for was that very first person. But all of them just excited me so much. So that's one story that tells how powerful aromatherapy can be. And my other story was a regular customer of mine. Her husband would often come in with her. He was diagnosed with cancer, and he was desperate for anything to help. So he asked if I could make a blend to stop smoking. And so I made a blend, and his name was Simon, and it's called Simon's Blend. And his wife is very aware that it's still called Simon's Blend. She's very proud of it. And he was able to stop smoking. Unfortunately, it was too late for him at that point, but he did stop smoking. And it was quite a while before he passed that he didn't smoke. And Simon's Blend has gone on to help other people as well, and has seemed to be successful. So those were the stories that really hit my heart. I mean, there are others as well, but it just made it so worthwhile to be working in that field. So, yeah.
And what a legacy for Simon.
It is. And I think that's why she's so happy that I've continued to call it Simon's Blend. It will always be Simon's Blend. So
thank you.
Thank you for letting me share.
But it's the stories that make it real. It's the stories that reignite us in our passion as well.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I love the stories. Thank you. I sometimes want to grab my little kindergarten mat and just, and the stories are told. But so here's a good question. Who inspires you, or what inspires you, and why?
There's so many people. We have so many amazing mentors in this just wonderful field. I think the person right now who really inspires me is Rihanna Lewis. She is bringing the community together in a way that has never been done before, and really trying to unite aromatherapists around the world, aromatherapy associations around the world, and have us come together as a common unit where we support one another. Even though we're different, we do different things. She just has this ability through her journal, through her conferences, and now through ICANN. And I just commend her for all the work that she does. And I hope she realizes how well respected she is in the field of aromatherapy, because if I could say anybody right now is really elevated, that would be the person I would have to pick. Yeah.
And how blessed and lucky we were to hear from her at the AIA conference.
Wasn't that amazing doing the dance? I mean, the way that
It was
she
beautiful.
wove everything in, I was in tears. I really was. It was just so beautiful and so powerful. And she speaks so eloquently. The words just flow. I wish I could be the same, they just flow and so easily. And she's amazing. Yeah.
I could have given that exact same talk and it would not have sounded like that.
No,
So,
me either.
You're right. She's got a way about her for sure.
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
So as a college, Essence of Thyme, we've already talked about the different programs that you offer. There's so many different schools, right?
Mhm.
I went to
Yeah.
American College of Healthcare Sciences. I know there's the Atlantic Institute. I mean, there's so many different schools.
There is. Yeah.
Why are they coming to Essence of Thyme?
Well, it's interesting because a lot of people ask a lot of questions. You can tell they're kind of doing their due diligence before they register because, all of courses are, money out of their pocket. They're an investment. I think one of the things that helps us as we get back to people right away and answer their questions. And it's usually either me or Kelly. And, we have hundreds of students and we really try and give that personal touch. So I think it's just, they feel, okay, if they're that connected to me when I'm asking questions, I'm assuming that they'll be that connected to me as instructors.
Right. The personal touch.
I think designations, we've got 4 associations that recognize us. We're the only school in the world right now that has 4 professional associations that recognize us, and soon to be a 5th. So people from different parts of the world are looking for, is there a designation for me in my country that I can use? Price, somebody was telling me in New Zealand that a program that was similar to ours was $10,000 and it was beyond her budget. And I can see that they would be because I know what goes behind the scenes and the costs for everything, and a lot of word of mouth. We'll often have people that will say, well, so-and-so is taking your course and recommended it. We don't always know what's working or what isn't working unless we ask. Sometimes we do.
May I ask, how big is your team? I mean, I know you said that you and Kelly are the lead instructors, and then you have other instructors that come in, but how big is your team?
We have 10, and they're subcontractors. So we have case study mentors. So they will mentor students as they're doing their case studies. Yeah. So they can ask that person. They get lots of feedback on their case studies. We have a research mentor. We have 2.5 people that are our tech team.
2.5 people.
But one person is also, she works half time with tech because she's awesome with tech. It's not her favorite thing, but we put her in there because she's so good.
It was just funny, the visualization.
Yeah. We just cut her down. And we have one person that kind of answers, social media questions. If we're not around, they'll answer social media questions. And we have one person who is sort of we have a program called Zendesk, and it's a centralized area where all of the emails come in. And then she sort of is the person who delegates who that email should go to. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, and we have a social media person who does all of our social media posts. So we've got a really good support team. We have team meetings every other Tuesday morning just to get together so that the other team members get to know one another and feel like we are a team, because they very much work independently, depending on what area they're working on. So that's sometimes the only time they really get an opportunity to meet and chat with one another. Sometimes we don't even have an agenda. We just how was your weekend, or how was your daughter's birthday party, or whatever. And sometimes it's more business related, but it creates that closeness, because it's really hard online to keep that going. And if your people aren't happy or feeling connected or valued, then it's hard for them to want to stay.
I love the small team.
Yeah.
When you hear the word college, you think massive.
Oh, yes.
Massive
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
It's a small team. That's beautiful.
It is. And it is. I mean, we do have our sort of experts that have done bits and parts of the program,
Sure.
But I wouldn't consider them part of our team because they did it, and, they did that part of it, and then it's done. So, yeah.
So I'm going to ask a question that many aromatherapists have a very, very hard time answering. What is your favorite, just one, essential oil why, and then how can the people listening to the podcast experience that essential oil, purchase it, or use it?
Well, it is a hard question to answer.
I know.
I will say eucalyptus. I have a respiratory condition, and I every morning, this is one thing that people can use. Every morning, I put a drop of eucalyptus on the floor of my shower, and as the steam I put it kind of in the corner of the shower so it doesn't run down the drain right away. And as the steam kind of hits it, it opens up my breathing passages in the morning. So I do that. And the other amazing thing is my whole upstairs smells of eucalyptus now because it's been permeated, every day it's permeated through the upstairs area. And I use it, if I'm having difficulty breathing through the day. Simple eucalyptus globulus is my favorite oil.
So what are you working on right now that's got you really excited? It could be personally or professionally.
The master's program. And it is so exciting. It's very research oriented. So it's really exciting. It's a little bit different than the approach has been, I think, with certainly our correspondence program and probably other schools as well. That's really exciting because we get to experience all this research as well. So I'm loving that. And we're also developing some monographs for some really not commonly used essential oils, which is kind of exciting too. So I'm just, we're very, very excited about this. And we're also excited about another program that we'll be launching shortly that was not written at all by us, but we've partnered up with two really, and I can't really say right now, but they are two amazing scientists in the aromatherapy community. And it's an advanced science program. And you have to be an aromatherapist to be able to be eligible for that. So we're really pumped about that because it's pretty much done. So yeah.
Your educator is shining right now.
Yeah. Well, it is my passion. Yes.
You're very lit up. You're very lit up right now talking about those things.
Yeah, it's exciting to be doing new things. I get bored easily if I'm doing the same thing. Yeah. So, in my career, I was always looking for, okay, what's the next step? What's the next step? And I've been able to do that. I've gone from franchising to my own store to, I've just been able to take all these steps. And I've loved every step, but it just, I think I would have been bored if I stayed in just one place. So,
in your professional opinion, where do you anticipate aromatherapy going? Like if we're to look 5 or 10 years down the road,
yeah,
what do you see?
I wish I knew because I think we're kind of on the cusp right now. I belong to the Journal Club, Joy Bowles Journal Club, and we actually kind of had this discussion. We met on Sunday. There's a real issue right now with not being able to back up the science with research. There's things happening in Australia right now as a result of that. And I think if we can't really get into the research and be able to have evidence-based research, we're going to be in trouble. But I think on the other hand, if we can get this done, I think that aromatherapy will be mainstream, in 20 years or so. I honestly believe that's the way it's going to go. I think there's enough people that realize that this is important. And I think there's some wonderful researchers out there and some wonderful research coming out of so many different countries that you would never expect to be producing the level of research that they are. And I think if we just can get more of that and get more evidence-based, I think people will say, when I grow up, I want to be an aromatherapist.
What is one aromatherapy concept or term that you think people just don't understand or misunderstand?
I know from new students, they're surprised that, wow, I was using way more than I should have. I should have been diluting that.
Dilution, yes.
Yeah, dilution. The whole safety aspect, I think a lot of people don't realize. They think, oh, it's natural, it's safe. And even that there are medications that are contraindicated with certain essential oils and, how deep down it goes. I think that's probably what people don't know that they don't know. And it's fairly early on in our program, and we will often get comments, wow, I had no idea.
Great. How can people find you if they want to just connect with you or they're interested in the college?
The email to reach us at is support@essenceofthyme.com. And the college is essenceofthyme.com. And we also have, I'm terrible with the Instagram and all of that because I don't do that part of it.
But you have someone who does.
Yeah. I don't do it. Somebody else does it. We do Twitter, we do Instagram, Facebook, of course. Facebook is essenceofthyme.com. If anybody has any questions at all, we would be happy to hear from them. We'd love to answer any questions they have. Kelly and I are on 7 days a week right now. So
which just amazes me because you're like it's you and Kelly. And yet you show up and you answer questions. I love that. So we're winding things down, and I love to give the floor to my guest for the last little bit for any words of inspiration. I've had people read poems, just anything that you would like to share as we close out.
Well, my favorite little quote, I love Leonard Cohen. Are you familiar with him? He is one of my favorite artists. And I actually have a big framed photograph in my office here, and there's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. And I love that because that's the only way that we can get better and better and better with whatever we're doing. We're all going to have those cracks. We're all going to have our faults, make mistakes, and we learn from those mistakes because that's how the light gets in and makes us better. So I find that very motivational. It has nothing to do with aromatherapy, but it has something to do with everything in life. Anything that we want to do in life, really.
But it does have to do with aromatherapy because the way that the chemical constituents interact with our body, there's a crack somewhere.
Yes.
For them to get in.
Perfect. Yes.
It does have to do with it.
Okay. Thank you. I made many mistakes along the way. I have so many funny stories, and I share them with our students because it was, as a new aromatherapist, some of the things that I did, I'm just horrified now. But I learned from that. And if you don't make mistakes, you don't learn. It's good to make mistakes because you will learn. So,
well, and then the reason that we come to a school like yours and invest in ourselves, is so that we can benefit from your knowledge. So yes, thank you for making mistakes. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Thank you.
My pleasure. And I will continue to do so. I promise.
Well, Colleen, oh my word. Thank you so much. This has been amazing. We see each other in AIA meetings, but this is the first time that we've actually talked. What a joy to hear from you today. Thank you so much.
Well, Melissa, thank you for what you do, because this is amazing to be able to reach out to people like this. And I'm so grateful that you asked me to do this podcast tonight and let me share my story. And I hope it inspires people, and keep doing what you're doing, because this is amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Colleen shared that early in her journey, she was introduced to aromatherapy while taking some executive courses when her professor shared that rosemary essential oil could enhance memory. She spent the next year and a half visiting bookshops and libraries to try and find out what rosemary essential oil was all about. Shortly after she devoured her first aromatherapy book, she said it was as if aromatherapy was just opening up to her. And I wanted to share with you that experience comes from a special part of our brain called the reticular activating system, known as the RAS. This is the part of our brain that acts as a sensory gate for us. Have you ever wanted a specific car or a specific outfit or a specific color of hair? Purple, maybe? You read all about it, you look at pictures, and then all of a sudden it seems you're seeing that item everywhere. That is your RAS in action. It's kind of like the cookies on your search engine. Those cookies are stored so that the next time you boot up that website, it loads quicker. Colleen's RAS was primed for aromatherapy, and that is so cool. Had she not been looking, found that book, and followed her nose at the mall that fateful day, her path would have been very different. I'm so glad that you chose to join me today for this episode of Aromatic Chat. You'll be helping out the podcast by hopping over to Apple Podcast and leaving a review. Reviews make it possible for me to continue hosting these amazing guests, and it boosts the podcast in the ratings, making it so that more people can find the podcast and hear from phenomenal aromatherapists. Be sure to subscribe to Aromatic Chat on your favorite podcast platform and share it with your friends and family. Aromatic Chat is produced by Lemon Balm Coaching, life coaching for women who feel like they're being buried alive by their lives. You can find me and connect with me, your holistic life coach and registered aromatherapist, on the web at Lemon Balm Coaching. I will see you next time with our next episode. Until then, peace, love, and aromatics.